let's talk the complete brake flush procedure if you have an ABS bike. Now before ABS, flushing the brake system in a bike, or the clutch for that matter, is very simple. You open up the reservoir, you open up the tap at the end, you run the new fluid through, push out the old, and call it a day. However, with ABS bikes, we now have an ABS system in the loop. Basically, it's a box somewhere in the lines, and it transplants itself to hold a bit of fluid. In the event that it needs to be actuated, it's an electronic pump system, and it will interrupt that braking system. Now when you flush your system with an ABS system intact, the fluid inside that box never gets touched. That means if you've got terribly old or dirty fluid trapped in that ABS box, it doesn't get pushed out by that new fluid. So the free way of doing this, and what I've shown you in my how to do a brake flush for this FJR, was simply do your flush as normal, go out, ride the bike, and then slam on your brakes enough to actuate the ABS system. That will pulse it a little bit and help flush out whatever old was trapped in the ABS box. Obviously, that's not always a terribly safe way to do it if you're not really comfortable. If you've never actuated the ABS system on your bike, it can be a little jarring. And the real downside is it doesn't really flush out the fluid in that ABS box. Number one, you have to actuate both the front and the rear because there are separate channels in the system. It's easy to do the rear. You just stomp on the rear pedal, and even on nice sticky tarmac, it's gonna lock it up if you've got newish brakes. That's no big deal. Not really in any danger. However, doing the front, yeah, you slam on that front hard enough, number one, you might do an endo. Number two, you might lose control. So I don't even tell you to do that. But you do lose that advantage of flushing out all that old fluid in the system. Here's the correct way to do it. Unfortunately, here in the US, Yamaha has pulled the shenanigans again of we're not going to actually sell the special tool. They pulled this off the US market many years ago. It's an $8 part. This is the, as they call it, test harness for the ABS system. And it simply plugs into a special receptacle here. And it tells the system you're about to do a test and manually actuate the system. And that allows you to, when you're in the process of doing your brake flush, turn on the ABS pump, get that fluid out, and finish your flush. That's the way it should be. In my opinion, this should never be needed. There should be a way to do it on every bike. There should be a switch or a jumper to push, something easy, or through the menu system, for example, to actuate it without the need for a special tool. At the very least, this should be available to every consumer. But no, what they really want you to do is pay the dealer to do a brake flush. Ridiculous in my opinion. And as it turns out, you don't even need this. All this is a single jumper. I'm going to show you the 2 pins that you have to jump on the harness on the bike itself to completely replicate this. This is actually not used at all. The only thing that's doing anything in this procedure is this little loop wire. That's it. So to get to it, we just have to remove our battery panel access door. 14 and up, very easy. We've got 2 screws here, 2 push pins on the inside. Got another video if you need help doing that. 13, yeah, a little bit more difficult. You need to take off this front dash bezel. Here's a tip, if you haven't done so yet, modify your battery access panel on your 13. There's a little tab. You can Google for it. It's very easy to do. You just cut off a little tiny piece of plastic and it turns it into the 14 design. Really simple. So we're gonna get this open, and then it's just a sequence of events. Very easy to do, but you do need to follow them precisely to actuate the pump. Let's get going. By the way, I've had a lot of people comment and ask me questions about how to get this piece back in. There's no magic trick to it. It's just a very tight sequence of slightly bending and getting it in position. Once you figure it out, it's simple to do. It's nothing magic, I can tell you. You just have to figure out the sequence of how it feels without snapping things off. It goes in exactly the reverse of how I'm taking it out. You know, it's just putting it in at just the right angle, making sure you're not breaking anything off here, and bending this out of the way. That's really all there is to getting it on or off. It's not hard. So the diagnostic plug we need is this wire right here, and it's just clipped on a little post. This is just my pigtail here. Now there's a little plug in the end here. There's a retention tab right on the top. Just lift up on it, either with a little screwdriver like this, or if you have fingers small enough, get in there. And then this plug comes right out. This is where our diagnostic harness will plug into. Now the two that you need to jump are the top two. If you're orienting that tab to the top, all you have to do is jump those two, however you want to do that. You don't need the tool. In order to start this procedure, your battery needs to be in good condition and topped off. It has to register above 12.8 volts or the system will not initialize the whole procedure. So I'll just double check my voltage here. I'm sure I'm good. 13.6. All right, good to go. Now we need to double check that our side stand switch is working. Power the bike on. Make sure it's on the center stand. Make sure it's in gear. Side stand down and try to start the bike. It should not start. Good to go. Now we can go ahead and connect our test tool into the harness on the bike. And again, all this is a jumper. If you want to make one of these, you can really do it any way you want. A couple alligator clips and a wire, fasten the wire, you know, any way you can onto the pins. Alligator clips are honestly going to be the easiest way to do it, but you don't need whatsoever to make an actual clip or harness or plug or anything like that. It's just jumping the top two pins in here. That's it. So we go ahead and plug that in and just leave that dangle. Now to initialize the procedure, make sure the side stand is still down. This is why we made sure that that switch works, because we're going to put it into its test mode using the start switch. All right, do not press either of the brake pedals and hold down the start switch like you're trying to start the bike for at least 4 seconds. Turn the bike on, let it initialize, count to 4. Okay, now what we're going to do is press both brake levers, the handle and the foot control. We're going to feel a pulsing through the hand control, then it's going to pause and it's going to pulse through the foot control, then it's going to pause and pulse again through the hand control. Make sure you do not let up on either brake through this entire process. It's just going to pulse for about 1.5 seconds each. Pulse, pause, pulse, pause, pulse, and then we're done. So I'm going to do both brakes, pulsing, it's flushing all through the system. Now it's doing the foot and back to the hand. And it stopped. Now we can release, turn the bike off, and what we've now done is flushed out all the old or dirty fluid from the ABS module back into the main line. So at this point, you can now flush again and get what was just put into the main line out and complete your brake flush or fluid change procedure. Disconnect the pigtail, put your bike back together, simple as that. So a lot safer, a lot easier, and more complete than using the road to actually cycle the ABS system. Hope this helps somebody. Super easy to do. I thank you very much, by the way, to Paul Donnell, one of the FJR enthusiast group members, who ordered this because he was ordering one anyway, and he bought an extra one and shipped it to me. He lives in the UK. It's only an $8 part over there. You know, it was something like 15 bucks including postage. But again, you don't need it. Jumper wire, any auto store, alligator clips and a wire, you're good to go. That's all this thing is. So that's it. Hope it helps somebody, and stay tuned for more videos. See you next time.